Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of What's Up Canada. Welcome back wherever you are, Canada and beyond. It is Friday, May 3rd, 2024. And as usual, we have got Bryce Wade in the house to help us make some sense out of the nonsense, uh, to discern some of the shizzle from the conspiracy and the theory. How you doing, Bryce?
Really good, man. Appreciate always being back, man. I love doing the show with you, bro. And man, as ever, the speed at which things are falling off the cliff has not slowed down.
Yeah, that's the one of the challenging parts about doing this show with you every week. By Tuesday or Wednesday, we can have an idea of what we want to talk about. By 5 o'clock Thursday, that is all out the window,
It literally
and
is.
here we are with scrambling at the last minute for what is the most important, or the thing that makes the most sense out of the shenanigans and bullshittery that's going on out there. And there is so much that people are being gaslit like to the ends of time over. We were talking about this just before we started with the show here today, where I had these two headlines, and one of them is saying nothing to see happening in the housing markets, guys. Everything is boring, quiet, usual, nothing to see here. And the next headline article is going, oh my God, it's the end of the world in the housing market. What the hell are people supposed to think about what's going on?
Yeah. And I'm not sure. Can people in the chat? Does everybody hear Wayne clearly? Because I'm getting a little bit of a choppiness. Can everybody just confirm? Or maybe it's me. I'm not sure.
It could be me. I was probably sitting 6 feet from a microphone. Is that any better?
Yeah.
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 It could be a combination of me losing my voice and being technologically inept today. It could be any number of things. Welcome to the world of live streaming.
Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, so let's kind of start with some of the big things that happened this week. So from a political side in Canada, we had the official opposition get kicked out. One of the other members of the Conservative caucus was wrongly kicked out, and the upshot to that whole situation, besides the absurdity to begin with, is they edited one of the documents that monitors all of the things that happen in the House. And so they edited it in a way that the member that got kicked out looked guilty and exonerated Greg Fergus. So we've literally reached 1984 levels of government. And like, this is official documents. I mean, they're already corrupt. We already know this, right? Rive scam is a Rive scam, right? All of these other examples, but now we're talking official documents that were edited, and the audio recordings don't show that. So somebody went into the government documents, said that we don't want in there as an intentional thing. So now, and what really annoys me about the Conservatives, of which I'll remind everybody, I am one, just so I could throw down and say, as a member, I'm pissed off at my own party now because they're doing ridiculous stuff. Where is the accountability? Like, every time I respond to somebody from the government on Twitter, I'm like, yo, who's going to be held responsible for this? Who's going to be held accountable? What's going to happen to them? And how are you going to fix this problem so it can't happen again? And it's crickets every single time. Nobody ever says, hey, we've got a plan for that. This is what we're going to do about it. This person's going down. They're going to jail. We're freezing their bank accounts. Hasn't happened yet. Ridiculous.
The some of the biggest charade and absurdity about all of that is, and I had Derek Rance on my show yesterday, one of the founding members of Diagolon.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is literally the entire House of Commons, the entire Parliament is absolutely losing their marbles, disrupting the business of the day in our government over a freaking meme, over a non-story, over a giant nothing burger.
Yeah.
And this government has been repeatedly proven that. and yet they still go to the well and then wonder why Pierre calls him a wacko in Parliament. And by the way, yes, he was not allowed to actually be thrown out because he had given the Speaker of the House an out, so the Speaker of the Parliament could have just let it go and
Yeah.
carried on with the business of the day. But these guys are so obsessed with living in each other's heads, campaigning with smut and smears, attempting to make something that doesn't exist a national importance enough to disrupt in literally neuter our entire government is absolutely reprehensible on every level. And all 338 members of parliament that still don't understand what the hell diagolon is, and that this is absolutely the most pathetic and vile excuses and reasons for our prime minister to try and deflect from his own accountability. This is just beyond even 1984 in my book.
Yeah, 100%. And like, and respect where respect's due. Diagolon guy, Jeremy McKenzie, right? Love him or hate him or disagree with him, like whatever. He came out with a statement and said, "Hey, there's nothing. Like, I don't even like Pierre. We're not connected in any way. This has nothing to do with anything. You guys are idiots." Like almost everybody in this country now agrees that Trudeau is an idiot. He's incompetent. His government is incompetent, and he shouldn't be there. But he's still in power.
I don't know if
failure.
it is idiocy or genius, because he's absolutely getting demolished in the parliament for killing Canadians, for putting a policy on Canadians, particularly in BC. That's what they're fighting about, the safe use hard drugs.
Yeah.
And so now he doesn't want to address that problem. They want to carry on with killing Canadians. And so this was Pierre's way to get out, or Pierre, may as well be Pierre. Justin's way of getting out of the out of Parliament that day was continually going back to wasting people's time and nonsense. Oh, Diagolon Alex Jones. How about you mind some of Canadians' business instead of disrupting the everything with made up lies and bullshit and doubling down. It's to avoid his own accountability. So I don't know if it's just ineptitude or actually genius, because that's where we seem to be focused on. Meanwhile, we've got to the World Health Organization literally fighting over who's going to be the biggest weapons manufacturer for the biological arms race that they're manufacturing. They don't want to talk about anything that is actually real. We have literally got the Avatar game running our damn country.
Yeah, exactly. And this, I think, is a good point to make about what the Overton window is. Like, I'm pissed about all the things we're talking about, because it's the functioning structure of the government itself. But we're still not talking about World War III that's escalating on a daily basis. NATO troops are being put into Ukraine right now. They're going to start launching fighters from NATO areas. Russia's already said that we're going to nuke you guys if you guys are launching strikes against us from outside of Ukraine. Like, we're at war. Right. And the stuff that we're talking about is stupid, because we have stupid people running the place. We have a stupid system that we're not represented in anymore. And it's breaking. It's falling apart. The economy is literally on life support right now. And there was another US bank that collapsed yesterday. Last week. The Chinese economy is still in free fall, which is a main driver of demand for the whole global economy. I mean, the amount of problems that we have are innumerable, and the people that are supposed to be responsible for fixing it are retarded. They're either don't know anything about it, or flatly refuse to talk about it, or are actively making whatever that problem is worse. So in any capacity that we can possibly think of, we, the people, the populace, the people that are supposed to be represented by our government, are getting screwed. And on top of all of that, we're like, hey, remember that raise that we gave ourselves after we raised your taxes? Yeah, now we're gonna do it again. And this loser, Jagmeet Singh, is like, you know what? I support Canadians being taxed more.
Well, to me, it's I have to question and wonder already at this point: are our leaders actually working for the BRICS nations at this point, because they seem to be doing everything in their power to make BRICS even more successful. Last week there was 32 countries lining up for BRICS. This week there's 40. I was listening to Pepe Escobar today. They've got some major events planning together, and they are actively attempting and to destroy our economy by creating a new global reserve economy. And most of the world wants it, except for our little chunk of it. And they are continuing to head down this path of, it's like the reverse effect. After Trudeau or Pierre got kicked out of Parliament the other day, the next day he rose 4 points in the polls. Every time they go after Trump, he goes up in the polls. Every time these guys try to pretend like they are going to fix Canada, BRICS gets richer.
Yeah.
Those countries get stronger. Everything that they espouse and virtue signal over has the exact opposite effect on the real world stage.
Well, because you got to remember, right, that the ultimate goal of all of these actions that are being taken are the same: to increase their control over the people that they want to control or get rid of, and B, to lessen the amount of power or independence that we as citizens have. Every single thing, every single policy, every single action that Trudeau and all the other left-wing communists that are all around the world right now, everything that they're doing is to destabilize the West and deindustrialize what our ability is to fight a war. So we've been pushed into this war with the East, right? Rightfully or wrongly, I'm very much against communist China, so I'm absolutely going to war with them. We're already at war, so I'm just now fighting that actual war, and most people are not, right? Because I'm not going to live under a communist dictatorship. Screw that, right? So on a fundamental level, I am opposed to that ideology writ large, right? But what all of their influence is doing, and they came out today, literally today, this happened today, is that they came out, was like, yes, there was interference in our election in 2019 and 2021, but it didn't change the outcome of the election, even though it changed the outcome of the election in two instances. Is there going to be an investigation? Is anybody going to be investigated? Are we going to have any changes to the system? Nope, don't worry about it. It just happened. Like, this is clown world, right? If we don't have the ability to be represented without fraud in a system that that doesn't have fraud, we're not represented. So am I a citizen of this country or not? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, there's that could end up in a whole other conversation. There's a lot of people that are thinking about Canada as a nation state from a nation state level, and wondering why we can't seem to protect ourselves from this kind of thing, and that leads to an education that Canadians are going to get come election time this year around, when Quebec moves to separate again, and that whole conversation happens. It will not happen anything like it has happened in the past, because too many, when that happened in 97, I think it was, people were intent on trying to keep Canada together, but too many
Yeah,
people
now
over the numbers of years have been educated that this illusion called Canada is just a myth, and it's that illusion that allows these criminals to do what they're doing with no accountability, because we don't have control of our own net destiny as a nation. And anybody that says that Canada is a sovereign nation, I ask them one question, and I am instantly public enemy number one. How can you be a sovereign nation with a notwithstanding clause that anytime your nation decides to do something, somebody else can come and go, nope, notwithstanding clause, Canada, sorry, no, you cannot do that. Canada has absolutely no control over our future and our destiny, and every one of those 338 crooks in Ottawa knows it, and they just say, oh, well, we rule through implied consent, and we keep implying consent because we don't stand up with conviction.
Yeah, and I'm sick of that. I'm to the point now, because from my perspective, and this is like, from my perspective, is 30 years of watching my country burn and watch it get slowly destroyed, and from a fairly fundamental level of understanding what's going on, right? So from my perspective, we're already what's the word? We're already on a list. We're already on a list that we're the deplorables, or the unacceptable views, of the fringe minority, whatever else moronic thing they want to call us, right? But at the end of the day, we're still a citizen in a physical community that we live together, right? We are, everybody watching this, we're all Canadian. I mean, obviously the people that are not in Canada, obviously not Canadian, but yeah, we're all part of this community, right? And this is the important thing, is that throughout history, right? Any community that was like, hey, those people over there are screwing us over, what do those people eventually have to decide? Be like, yo, those people are screwing us over. Screw those people. we're at war now, right? And until everybody gets this idea in their head that like we've reached a point that only action will solve something, because we can't trust the people that are supposed to represent us, we have to take responsibility for that, right? And if we take that first step and say we are responsible for this, then the next step is, well, what are we going to do about it, right? And I think a lot of people are starting to come to that realization that, like, yo, I'm getting screwed over, my family's getting screwed over, I'm being stolen from, our government is run by a bunch of morons, they're screwing us over, they're stealing our money. Man, I feel like I got to do something about this. You know what I mean? And as soon as it hits a critical mass, all shit's gonna break. All hell's gonna break loose. Because what's gonna happen then is that if we don't have some sort of thing to point to, is like, this is where we want to go, and this is the thing that we want to get when we get there. If that isn't already there, everybody's just gonna be like, you know what? Screw it. Screw you. Screw him. Screw her. Screw everybody. That's it. I've had enough, and it just becomes chaos, right? Because I'm more of the opinion and the belief that we have to build civilization, not rip it down, because rip down civilizations don't go well for anyone. If you want
100%.
running water and hot showers in the morning, anarchy isn't for you.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up this comment here from Lisa. Thank you for this one, Lisa. Maybe Alberta will do the same. You have no, maybe you do,
100%.
but most people have no idea how accurate that statement is, and I'll tell you why. Because Daniel Smith also understands that Canada has no sovereignty. Every time you hear Daniel Smith say, well, it worked for Quebec, or I took a page out of Quebec's book, what she is doing is literally referring to the fact that Quebec has extorted all of its bonuses out of the rest of Canada because of the lack of sovereignty. They knew it, they used it, they played it, they extorted Canada, they got what they wanted, and they've been getting that for 90 years. Well, Daniel Smith is playing the same game. And when this comes to a discussion come election time, this is my point, is that there is a whole lot greater of the population that understand that we don't have. And again, this totally speaks to what you were saying. We can either wait until it turns into a civil war and there is nothing but chaos, or we can do what Iceland did, which was basically remove the bankers, remove the government, and obtain our sovereign status, obtain the control of our own damn future. Because as long as we leave it to these meat muppets in Ottawa that are only acting on behalf of the NGOs, nonprofits, and private public partnerships, we're going to continue down this trajectory of fascism, communism, new world order, whatever it is. It's certainly not going to be Canada. So it's up to, this is the conversation that I'm actually, as muddy as it is and as terrible as it's going to get, I'm actually kind of looking forward to, because the facts and the truth are going to come out. So people are going to be hearing me chirp about this for an awful lot over the next little while, because it's really, without literally wiping us out and starting over again, this is the way to create a peaceful transition from foreign governance and control to the people's governance and control. And I'll tell you what, anybody that doesn't believe that through the little spider webs that be, that King Charles, the globalist leader extraordinaire, doesn't have diabolical plans for Canada and is still running Canada through the Privy Council and the government. Trudeau's only doing what
he's told to do.
tells him to do, and King Charles says, "Yep, get her done. You got to create this one world order." And the only way to sever that, and that cord was mostly severed in 1931. Our great grandparents shit the bed, dropped the ball, and left us hanging out to dry. Now it's our mess to clean up, and nobody wants to take responsibility for cleaning up the damn mess. Unfortunately,
I will. Screw it.
I agree. And
I'm in.
We can fix this and still maintain a society. We can go back to the 60s, as far as for governance and control and management, and rebuild the system for
Yeah,
Canadians' future, or
yeah,
we can continue to allow this chaos to happen. But the most significant point of all of that process that appeals to me is, with $3 trillion in debt, every future great grandchild born in Canada this day, from this day forward, is going to be born into a world of debt and servitude and slavery, unless we pull an Iceland. Because what happens when we pull an Iceland is, much like the proceeds of crime for criminals get taken away, the debt created by crimes goes with the criminals. So if you want to see Trudeau destitute and penniless and in Nuremberg, let's do this, because that $3 trillion worth of debt is now suddenly owned by Trudeau.
yeah. And on that mention of debt, so Chrystia Freeland in her Infinite Communism this week was like, hey, we're going to need another $250 billion in lending, because we're going to max that out pretty quick, and it's at 1.8 trillion right now. We're only at 1.2. Like, so she has the actual plan to print in our name another $800 billion over whenever the hell she thinks she's going to be in charge. So, like, at a fundamental level, right? Think fundamentally, right? You, me, everybody in the country. Okay, we're supposed to be a part of a country. We're obviously not, right? So if we're not, and we want to be, and the thing that we want is, we want representation, and we want control of our currency, and not a central bank, as an example, right? So if we want these things, that has to be in a constitution, and it has to be signed by everybody, and we have to agree that, hey, this is the rules that our country lives by, and these are the rules that you, the government, are going to live by. And if you violate them, which it already has, just throwing that out there, but if you violate them, you're done, and it's automatic, right? And so what this is really going to come down to is us, the people, being like, enough is enough. What are we going to do? And if you idiots can't represent us anymore, you're fired.
Well, yeah, this is another great comment, Irene. You're 100% right. Canada is bankrupt, and Canadians, we the people, are the richest damn citizens on the planet, but we're not allowed to
Word.
be, because the squatters in Ottawa, wearing their fancy suits and
Yeah.
extracting our wealth, will not allow us to live like we should rightfully be living, simply because of their corrupt syndicates and their crime spree, because they know they're the pirates in control. Until the people seat a constitution and actually gain their sovereignty, nothing will change.
Yeah. And so somebody mentioned a little bit higher up there, like, and I think this perfectly encapsulates. You've probably seen this. It was Marianne, I think, that said this. Let me try and find this comment. Yeah, I can talk about that for a sec. I want to find this comment because it was really important. It was about the I can't find it. Whatever. So the rebrand for the Canadian Forces. Did you see that today?
Yes, yes, I
That
did.
perfectly encapsulates the absurdity of our government. They're like, you know what? You know what we need? A bunch of like pixelated, nondescript nonsense. This perfectly encapsulates what Canada is right now. No specificity, no design, no connection to reality. Just this amorphous, like, ugly nonsense. It
You
perfectly
know what that is?
encapsulates this government.
That logo is a damn QR code.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what it is, and I'm sure that was done by design, in order to that for I mean, they will recognize that on every digital device from space. They will recognize that over any name, any script, any badge, any logo. That's why they did that, is they'll be able to recognize that from space.
Yeah.
It's just such an insult.
It
Yeah.
is, and it's like, and it's a disservice. And this is something I don't think I've shared on here yet. So we're going to war. Okay, so that's happening. We're like, the West is going to war with Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. That's the axis of evil, and the BRICS nations, and the all the other blah blah blah. Right. But ultimately, it's a war. Right now, there's a war against humanity too that we're a part of. That's separate from the public war. This is the actual war, which is the oligarchs and the communists against humanity in the middle. Because most people are normal people, just want to have their family, live a good life, have good times together, whatever. That's most people, right? We just live in this system that's garbage, right? And so we're going into this war that the West has been like, yo, we need to go to war. We're gonna do war again because that's what the West does, because we're a military industrial complex, right? But at the same time, they're also like, you specifically can't have any of that. No guns for you, no defense of your borders, but we're going to take your money and pay another country so that they can buy guns from us, but those so they can take those guns and defend their borders for their benefit that we're ultimately paying for. Like, how many levels of absolute absurdity do you have to have, and how many mental backflips do you have to do to make that make sense? And the left is at the same time being like, we need to fix climate change, but let's go to war. I want guns for Ukraine, but I don't want any for myself. Like, these people are insane, man.
How the way they do that, and it's the same principle that they used when they were executing people, the Wehrmacht Republic. They would
Yep.
make them run all the time, so you never had a chance to pause and think. Run, 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 run. Do this,
Yeah.
do that, do this, do this, do that. Oh, stop for a second. Boom, you're done. And
Yeah.
that's literally what they're doing to us on a global national scale. Like with all of the nonsense that we're facing and experiencing, they are still telling us you're not doing enough, Canada. You are not doing enough. They need
Yeah.
more. We are not anywhere close. You must do more. They must extract more from you. You must give more.
Yeah.
And that's literally the process that they're using. But
Yeah.
the thing that really disturbed me in what you were just saying there, in people understand the military industrial complex, they understand the permanent war economy that they decided after 1945 when the World War II was over. These were things that they actually adopted from Germany as well. Germany's economy was set up and structured to be a permanent war economy for the same problems, the same financial structure problems that our liberals and our progressives have today. So that was just another thing that they borrowed from World War II, was this permanent war industry. But this is where it gets scary with the evolution of technology. Every time there is new technology, one side or the other tries to leverage it to control the world. And right now, as you know, and this was something that may have been tough for some of my guests last night to listen to James Roguski speaking of this, we have to understand that war is different, war is changed. And that permanent war economy is what the WHO is fighting for right now, is to maintain that permanent war economy, but as a biological war economy moving forward. We will perpetually, forever be in biological warfare mode with one country or another, whoever has got the weapons, I mean manufacturing plants for the system. And that's literally what they're saying. They're replacing the term war and conflict with health and safety.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note of the technology aspect, right? So you've got so there's two levels of technology, right? There's technology that you can see and technology that you can't. Like, we don't see radio waves, we don't see ham radios, we see the physical technology, right? And so biology is basically a whole area of technology that we can't see, right? And so there's an old quote that I read years ago that was the 20th century was the century of physics. The 21st century is going to be the century of biology, right? As like how much advancement we make in that domain, right? And so on top of AI, and I had a big argument with a couple of my friends yesterday about how the power and the possibility of what AI could do, because there's, like, you know, Terminator, there's the Matrix, there's all these like sci-fi examples like Dune, that you're like, yeah, we either destroy the AI or it destroys us, right? But we're literally in that place right now that AI has the ability to destroy us in a bunch of different ways, not just nukes, but just replacing us. If I can pay one robot and one AI to do everything that I would pay a human to do, but I only have to pay it once, well, why would I ever hire a human if I get more? Because I get 24/7 labor. You know, from a capitalistic point of view, I'm useless. You know what I mean? So there's a threat that way too, and that's still a benefit in some ways, because we would get more out of that at a civil level. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, that's probably explains why Trudeau is spending twice as much on AI as he is on housing. He's all about eliminating the population and controlling it with AI. So he's investing for the future.
Yeah, 100%. And so, so this is something that's happening too, right? So I don't know how many people. Can I share my screen for a second? I'll just show everybody this. This one. I'm not gonna play anything, but I just want to show you what this looks like. Here we go. So this is Boston Dynamics, so you don't need to hear anything, doesn't matter. But so you see this robot dog here. So if anybody watched Black Mirror, right, there was an episode of Black Mirror where this exact dog had AI, and it was a hunter killer robot. It had a gun on it, and it was its whole job was to hunt down humans, right? They have humanoid robots now that have all of the functionality and movement and can jump around and do backflips. They have guys with AIs with guns. So we are literally at the point where we have droid armies is a technical possibility and a technical capacity that we have, right? So that is something that is now
on the battlefield.
Technically possible.
They are on the battlefield already, Bryce.
Yeah, exactly.
They are being used in the conflict. Robotic soldiers are being used already on the front lines in the battlefield in Ukraine, and that's not just drone warfare, that is ground robotics as well. And that is such a disaster over there right now, and any that thinks that we've got the upper edge on that is seriously misinformed.
Yeah, and the reason that I bring this up is that there's always the problem. Somebody just made a good point that there's all the negativity, right? So there's absolutely a lot of negativity out, but you have to be aware of what's happening to make sure that you're taking into account what your threats are. So in business, there's what's called a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that threat aspect is something that no matter what you think can destroy your entire operation, right? So all the things that I try to talk about are generally threats and opportunities, right? I don't talk really about the strengths and weaknesses because that's almost irrelevant at this point, right? What's important is that there's an opportunity to make changes and you have to address the threats. Because when you're at war, right? When our forefathers and our ancestors were at war, it was all or nothing, right? You still had the idea in your head that when you're at war, if I lose this, me and my family could be wiped out forever, right? And you have to have that as part of your mentality to prepare for this because that's what it is, right? And so I always come at this with I don't care what the threat is. Like I care in the sense of what it is and what it means and the implications of it, but it doesn't matter to me what it is. I know that we can do something about it if our actions and our ideas and our desire for change are equal to the task of fixing that problem or stopping that threat. Can we stop a nuclear war? I don't know, but I can prepare for one, right? I don't know if we can stop all the corruption in Canada, but I can say something about it and say, let's fire these idiots, right? And I'm to the point now, and I know other people will probably agree with me, is that if we don't do anything now, who's ever going to do anything? Like we're getting to the point where everything is about to collapse. Who cares if that's negative or positive? That's what's happening, right? And if you want to avoid that reality, you have to take actions to ensure that it doesn't happen. And it's really hard to do that because these problems are so big. These solutions require so much effort and collaboration, and this is why I always talk about that collaboration aspect because even in a really small community, right? Like think back to like the what are those, the Amish, right? You had these small communities that operated in the same way for hundreds of years. Basically, didn't change too much, but they only had a certain level of capacity before you're like, hey, it's too many people in this community. You got to go somewhere else because the area that they were living in could only handle so many people before you had to start doing, okay, we need like an apartment building because we can't have a house and a homestead all over the place and stuff, right? So the level of organization that is required is really dependent on what you're trying to achieve. And for me, I don't want civilization to fall because the Dark Ages sucked. Like, I don't want to be a farmer, bro. Like, I will be if necessary, but I'd rather not. You know what I mean?
I want to live in that sweet spot where humanity is the priority, not robotics or the Stone Age. And you know this comment here, biodigital convergence, Polish Horizons Canada. You're 100% right, Sharon. A lot of these things that we've been discussing here over the last few minutes all fall under this dream agenda of policy horizons. And I was speaking about this earlier with a group today. Nobody got the memo when I think it was September 10th or 11th or 12th, something like that, last year when Joe Biden made a decree from the White House saying there was they were transitioning the economy to a bio-digital economy in conjunction with pharmacare. And most of people don't realize, how much work they've put into that. Even here in Canada, uh, since 2019, our tax dollars have not funded Health Canada at all. All of Health Canada's revenue and expenses is all looked after. That is been completely compartmentalized and is now all managed and handled by big pharma corporations. So
That's
Canada has
insane.
no health care left. So politicians will do as their sponsors tell them, and this is hence we keep this having this driving force to this bio-digital convergence. And none of this is conspiracy theory anymore. It's all out there. They're announcing it, they're implementing it, they're putting in the policies. And this is why, in as long as there's even a smidgen of hope, I will have that hope. And for me, that hope is in Canadians saying, "No, enough is enough. It's time to get rid of the squatters." And squatters aren't always easy to get rid of, especially ones that are so entrenched for 90 years in that house in Ottawa that's actually ours. So we're going to have some decisions to make here really, really soon. And this is why as much as I don't believe in a political solution, there is political pressure. This is why I'm so adamant on leaning on Pierre and the Conservatives now, not just whatever it takes to get go out.
100%.
That's the wrong
100%.
mentality of the people. We can't just be thinking whatever it takes, anything but Trudeau, whatever it takes, get him out.
Not playing that game again, bro. No, I'm not playing that game.
We
I'm
have
not
to
playing that
hold
game,
them.
bro.
We have to hold them to account for these problems that we see coming, that they're all in 100% denial over right now, because unfortunately we don't live reality in the avatar space. They can chirp all they want in Parliament. That doesn't impact, that doesn't change the daily decisions that we have to make to survive, live, eat, breathe, sleep, and survive our futures. So we've got to get control of reality back from the avatar game players in Ottawa at the end of the day. So that's where my hope lies. People are going to figure it out.
I think that there's been such a massive fall off in the trust of our institutions, rightfully so, but also intentionally by the powers that be, because they want to swoop in with the solution. They're creating the problem. Trudeau's a problem. Are they going to swoop in with the solution? Oh, hey, Trudeau screwed up your national currency and all of your economy. Well, just give us all the power and we'll fix it up for you, right? And I will not tolerate and I will not accept that there is a centralized ultimate authority solution to everything. Screw that. Like, if we don't have strong citizens, if we don't have strong communities and strong families that work together, what are we doing here? Like, this is supposed to be civilization, bro. We're supposed to be like, hey, we're all working together, right? We're all part of a crew. We're all living on the same planet. We're breathing the same air, right? But if we're not actively trying to work together and live together in peace, somebody is trying to make war and divide and destroy, right? And if that's what is truly happening, which it is, that means that those people are at war with all of us, right? And this is what I talk about when I'm saying that there is a war against humanity. All of us watching this right now, you all have families. I have a family that I care about. You have a family that you care about. Why do we have to live in a system that I have to fight with you and somebody has to die between us for somebody to make $1 bajillion and have all the power? That's the most ridiculous idea for civilization ever, right? And so I know, because I understand the technology that we have, right? I know that we have all of the technology, all of the resources, all of the land, all of the space, all of the everything that we need to live a life of abundance, so that we don't have to destroy each other. We could be into the to the solar system and the galactic community, whatever the hell is out there, right? We could be exploring space. That's what we could be doing. But instead, we're gonna be fighting in the dirt for survival because these idiots don't want us to live anymore. Screw that.
Here's a great comment from Anita, and that's 100% right of it. That is They have had an active war on Christianity and
Yeah, exactly.
our faith
So stupid, bro.
in
So
this
stupid.
country for a long time. Because you're right. Once we revoke God in our documentation, then it's a free for all. That
Yeah.
is the end of law and order as we know it on the Western continent. So this is I hear people often tell me, well, God and religion's got no business in politics. Really? You live in a country so great because that is the foundation of our politics. If you don't have to worship God, but if you don't agree with him, then you will destroy this wonderful country that we have. So those that will not stand up and fight for us automatically enable and engage and with our opposition and our enemy. I'm not telling anybody they have to go and be Christian or believe in God, but if you don't stand up and fight for that, our country is going to be gone. No Christian is going to force you to be a Christian, but whoever's coming in next will absolutely force you to be whatever they want you to be,
Exactly.
and it will not be nearly as benevolent as a Christian society
Oh, 100%.
under God and unalienable rights. There is not a snowball's hope in hell of that ever improving with anybody or anything else that comes out. So these people that want to freak out on me because I'm a Christian or that I believe that God still belongs in our Constitution, they have no idea the level of ignorance they're espousing in that statement, because this is why we are losing. Because if you won't stand up for my church that burns down, and they've burned down almost all of them now,
Yeah.
then what?
Yeah.
Then you will stand for nothing. And if there is nothing in this country that you will stand for, they will have everything. And that is exactly what they're coming for.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm an atheist, right? Like, so, like it, like we, like there should be. So I've said this many times before. Okay, if the laws of a group of people only apply to some of them some of the time, you don't have laws. You have speeding tickets for the poor, or sorry, for the wealthy, and laws for the poor, and restrictions for the poor, right? Because of our system is based on money and going back and forth and stuff. If they don't apply to everybody all the time, they're not laws. They're just suggestions for people that can get around them, right? And so if we don't have a constitution in Canada, which we don't anymore because it's been destroyed, but that means that document has to be created, recreated, or whatever, and reasserted as the supreme law of the land, right? And anybody that violates it should be removed and punished severely and harshly, right? Because the corruption that happens every day in Parliament is abysmal. Like it boils my blood listening to Jagmeet Singh and Chrystia Freeland lie through their teeth about how they represent Canadians, as if they know, care, or ever asked any of them. Like what an absolute absurdity to be like, actually, well, Canadians agree with us and blah blah blah. Like how do you know? You don't even listen to anybody that is telling you things. Never mind people that haven't said anything.
That's the implied consent.
Yeah,
That's
horseshit.
why they won't give up their power. They will not give us a sovereign country. They will let us continue to think that we are in control, we are sovereign, and it is the will of the people that leads this country, when they all know damn well it isn't, and it doesn't, because then that threatens their golden tickets and their money laundering and all of their public-private partnership kickbacks, and every last one of them benefits from them. So they've got a good life. Why would they mess with them having a good life? But with Freeland, I learned an interesting tidbit this last couple of days,
How her
and
family was actual Nazis.
no, I always knew that
Oh, I knew that
Freeland was
one.
an
So
actual
if
Nazi.
anybody didn't know, she actually comes from legit Nazi family. Christia
Well,
Freeland, big fan. And by the way, she brought a Nazi into the Parliament. Just throwing it out there.
you guys, she's been a special project of mine. She comes from my hometown. I've
Oh,
known
does
my
she?
whole life. Yes, I've known my whole life who she is, what she is, and where she comes from.
Well,
What I just discovered this week was Victoria Newland. Christian
oh yeah.
Freeland's real last name is not Freeland; it's Chomiak. But I
Okay.
didn't realize that Victoria Newland was not her last name, original last name either. Both Freeland and Newland are Nazi propaganda terms that both of their families changed their names to after they left the Ukraine, because they come from the same damn place.
Victoria, are they related? Victoria Nuland and
They're
Chrysler
not
Freeland?
necessarily related. I haven't gone that far, but they come from the same place. What
Right.
are the odds that both of these women are not serving the World Economic Forum Fourth Reich? I would bet zero. We know
That's
they're serving the Fourth Reich, but I think that there's some parallels and some coincidences that need to be further investigated because I just don't buy coincidence. But
no,
very
obviously not.
interesting tidbit for me to find out yesterday that they come from the same region in Ukraine. What are the odds?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is why I call it an oligarchy, right? So if anybody doesn't know the term oligarchy, basically an oligarchy is a system of control by a small group of powerful people. That's essentially what it means. There's a little bit more technicality to it, but that's essentially what it is, right? So you have an oligopoly, which is a bunch of corporations controlling a whole industry. You've got a plutocracy, which is ruled by the wealthy. You've got a corporatocracy, which is ruled by corporations, and you've got an oligarchy, which is ruled by a bunch of a small group of powerful people. So we have all of those things happening all at the same time, right? And I don't know what you would call the rule by banking or rule by fiat or whatever, but ultimately there's still people, and this is why this is the important thing and why I give it the blanket term of the oligarchy, right? Because you have these groups of people with infinite money, infinite power, and all of the connections and all of the pedophilia rings and all the other crazy shit that they do, right? But you have these group of people that are basically at the top echelon of humanity, administrating everything and making decisions for us, against us, to kill us. So I can't think of a better description of a war when you have these people that are like, hey, you and your family, off the list. Them and their family, you can't touch them. And on top of that, you can't even talk about them. Right. So you have, and there's this old quote by Voltaire. So if you want to know who rules you, look at who you can't criticize. Right. Well, who is
100%.
that? Right. And so these group of people have been doing this for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Right. And so the only reason that we have even, and going back to the threats and opportunity, right? So that is the threat that's been there probably forever, right? But now the opportunity, the white pill side, right, is because we're able to talk, because we're able to decide and choose and organize. This, we've never had an opportunity really to get rid of these people, right? Because what the people that fled Europe to the US did back in the day is like, you guys are losers. There's a new world out there. I'm out of here. So they escaped, but they thought, they're like, hey, we could just run and do our own thing. Well, we have one planet now, and they have control of the entire thing. So there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. You're either in the fight or you're a slave. Those are your two choices.
I see a comment here. I gotta bring up from Stephen. You forgot Wacko. I have a question about that, Stephen. Is it Wacko or Wacko? I just could not help myself because it's absolutely the truth. Yeah, so this this newfound tidbit for me, the coincidence between Freeland and Newland, really makes me wonder because I know the trajectory that Freeland took. She went. George Soros funded her European elite education, so she was actually raised through going to universities and private schooling in Prague, in Kiev, in Rome, and in Paris. Three of those places she still holds property in. But this was all 20 years of investment in George Soros and ladies like Freeland and Newland to get Ukraine to this point of where it's at. And they've completely sold out to the Black Rocks and the rebuilding, which is literally wash, rinse, repeat of World War II, World War One. The bankers on both sides destroy the country and then finance everybody to rebuild, and that's really what we're seeing again.
Yeah, and so on that note, and so to bring it back all to bring this whole discussion back to gold for a second. So which is economic, one of the reasons I'm here. So one of the things that's happening right now, right, and I've said this another time, so if somebody's heard this before, I apologize, but some people might not have. So one of the things that's happening in the economy right now is all of these groups are buying gold at breakneck speeds, right? Because they're going to use gold as a physical asset to back their currencies. Canada has zero gold. We sold all of our gold. We have no precious metals whatsoever, so we're backed by nothing, right? So at some point, I guarantee you, you can put my name beside this prediction, at some point the Canadian dollar is going to collapse, as is the US dollar, because there's nothing backing it. And the US has a lot more behind it. Yeah, exactly. And so what I suggest everybody do, right? If you can't afford large amounts of gold or silver or whatever, that's totally cool. I get it. But that is an intermediary between you and resources, right? The whole idea of a currency is that I give you a Canadian dollar, you can take it and go buy something else that makes your life better, happier, faster, quicker, whatever, right? And if you can't do that, and it takes, in the Weimar Republic as an example, 100 trillion marks or whatever it was basically worthless. They were using it for fire because it was so worthless, right? So if that happens to the currency, you can't get resources at that time, right? So if you have the ability now, go get resources now. And that's what I'm doing. I just bought like a few 100 pounds of food because I'm preparing for this to go really bad. I don't want it to go really bad, and I'm going to try to prevent it from going really bad, but I am not confident that we're going to be able to stop it from going really bad. And if that is the case, that everything's going to collapse and we might have to restart from zero or fight a war to survive, you better be prepared before everything collapses, because everybody around you that has nothing, there's this saying that you need to understand, is that everybody is 6 meals from chaos. Right, six meals from chaos, which basically means if you go for basically 3 days with no food, you're starting to kick down doors. You're like, yo, that guy's got food over there. He's giving me some. I don't have any food. I got to go find some. Right. And it's at that point. And so everybody remembers COVID, when everybody just had this collective decision. There's no more toilet paper. We're just going to run out forever. Right. And we create we build and we manufacture toilet paper in Vancouver, where I am. So right behind me here, we have unlimited amounts of toilet paper, right? It's made here, and everybody still decided, didn't know that, so we just decided. But if that ever happens for food, it will be historic. The amount of insanity and chaos and destruction and death and horror that you will see if everybody is out of food will be the worst time in human history. I guarantee it. And you don't want to be one of those people scrounging for food. So I highly suggest that you have enough food for yourself in your possession, so you don't need to fight somebody at the liquor store or the superstore to survive.
Yeah, I cannot get these stories out of my head that I've read so many times over the years. People in Germany, getting their paycheck, getting their money from the bank and running to the store as fast as they could, because every second that it took for them to get to the store meant by the second a loaf of bread or a pound of butter, because the prices were doubling by the hour.
Yeah.
Hour when that starts to happen, and that's kind of where we're it's not by the hour now, it's by the month. I go to the grocery store once every 2 weeks and I watch the products. They're on sale this week, and the next week their regular price is higher than the price before, and their new sale price is higher than the price before. So they are literally the cost of things is doubling almost already within a short measurable period of time. I'm not talking years, I'm talking weeks. Prices things are running up. I want to pull up a couple of other comments here. Chev, you're absolutely right on this. Whereas Canada was founded upon the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, it does not mandate compliance or belief, and that is the difference. Try living that way in an Islamic fundamental country, and
you're either in the crew or you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. You're either doing it or you are dead, 100%. I did want to bring up this one as well. Thanks, Dan. Watch the Great Taking documentary. 100% agree on that. People need to watch and understand that, because there's a couple of points in there. And what we're talking about here now is with Bryce and I, and talking about getting it now. That's because it's like, get it while you can, because every day your dollar is worth half as much, and there is less of it out there. So the cost of it goes up twice as much. So now you're 4 times the cost of getting it, and the paper stuff that you're trading for it you're going to need 4 times as much of that to get that silver a month down the road. But the big point that that I got out of the Great Taking documentary was the fact that even the rich people have no idea what's going on, but
Yeah.
the people that handle them tell them this is what to be afraid of. So they are absolutely mortified. They believe all of the things, and they are the true, real useful idiots, because they're just trying to protect themselves the same way we are being manipulated, used, and abused by everybody else. So they're just because people are rich doesn't necessarily make them evil. They have just been gaslit, programmed, and had their knowledge base removed from them equally as well. So we have to understand that just because people are rich, that doesn't necessarily make them evil. A lot of them are useful idiots too. So
Yeah,
it
totally.
makes it tougher, but it kind of was a little bit consoling to me by thinking, okay, not everybody's pure blatant evil and against me. They're just against me because they're ignorant and they're dumb. That doesn't make them evil. And
Yeah.
so it kind of helps the psyche deal with it or process it a little bit, I guess, at least for me anyways.
Yeah. Could we bring up one more client comment from Anita Salisbury of 453?
Sure. Which comment was that?
I see the timestamp. Do you have the place in Ontario? Yeah, that one. So,
Right.
so to answer this question, so I work with a company, New World Precious Metals, and we can deliver any amount of precious metals that you want, basically anywhere in the country. And actually, we work worldwide as well. Yeah, so we're trustworthy. I like this company because they're awake and they're intelligent and they're wise to the game. But we have a system where we can get gold and silver into your hand directly. So if that's what you're looking for, yeah, shoot me a message. There's you can find me on Facebook or Twitter if you want to message me directly, or you can just there's a link below the
Yeah, find out What's Up
video.
Canada, click on the link there, and you will get taken to a page where you can set up an appointment and talk to the guys. And I highly recommend people do that. And the thing that I wanted to address there with the comment was thank you for adding that trustworthy part, Anita, because there's an awful lot of people trying to sell gold and silver out there right, but they are not all trustworthy. And the banks, especially, do not get it from the banks because they're going to offer you a chance to vault it for free.
Yeah.
And then they're do the same thing they do with your savings.
Mm.
And then if there's a running, you're going to be screwed on that as well. So this is why I partnered up with New World Precious Metals in the first place, was because they were trustworthy. They do things for the people. The other big thing that they do that nobody else does is by finding methodologies to get people's funding out of RSPs and the cabal control and into something they can actually control themselves. I see you got something else pulled up there.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this up because this is important. So this goes back to the threats that I was talking about. So this is an immediate threat or a short-term threat because this is coming. So one of the things that's happening in China right now is they're refusing to give people their money out of their own account. So when you take your money to the bank or you get like a transfer, you get paid or you get a direct deposit or whatever, your money's in the bank, right? And typically for my entire life and probably yours as well, anytime I went to the bank, I'd be like, I'd like some money, please. And they'd be like, yes, sir. Here's your money. Here you go. Off you go. Right. That'd be the agreement that we made, that I give you my money and I can get it back anytime I want. And what's happening in China, but also, and why I'm bringing this up, also the Western countries now. So this is in Australia. It's happening in the US. It's going to start happening here as well. And I went to the bank, my own bank that I've had for almost 30 years. And I went to them and said, hey, I'd like about $3,000. They're like, well, we don't have that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have that? What do you mean you don't have $3,000 that you can give me right now? Like, I thought you're a bank. And he's like, oh yeah, but you have to order that. I'm like, what do you mean I have to order my own money? What are you talking about? Give me my money. It's mine, not yours. You're holding it for me. That's the agreement that we made. But now, because the reserves that banks hold is less than 3% now, I think it's like 2.5% or some absurd number. Eventually, and I'm telling you this, everybody that's watching this, everybody that sees this, eventually there is going to be a run on the bank at some point in the future, because somebody at some point is going to realize I can't get my money out. And this has already happened in multiple places all over the planet. So they are preparing for this, because once that money is locked in and you don't have any, Now it's literally down to just the resources and things that you have outside of the bank. So that card that you have, it's either going to be a central bank digital currency with a digital ID or anything outside of that. And so you better get the money that you need outside of the bank before there's a run on the bank, because you don't want to be last, you want to be first. And so I'm not telling you to start a run on the bank, but I am telling you is prepare and make sure that you have the resources necessary to survive, because at some point in the future there's going to come a time where you can't go get food from the store because it's going to be empty. And if you want to get food with transaction and money or whatever, somebody still has to sell it to you, and I guarantee you it's going to be a lot more expensive then than it is now. So the resources that you need, you have to get now. Now, that might not be gold and silver only. I'm getting gold and silver on top of all of that sort of stuff so that I'll still be able to transact outside of everything collapsing. But at some point, all of this shit's going to come crashing down. It's going to be really ugly and really bad for a lot of people. And you don't want yourself to be a part of that group of people that it's really bad for.
I want to just address this. Marlene, this isn't just a sales pitch, and you are going to be one of those people that one day is going to be going, well, why didn't anybody tell me? This is not about stoking fear. This is about helping people be prepared. You don't have to be afraid.
Bring up
You
our
don't
next
even
comment
have
too.
to listen. But there are people that desperately, definitely want and need this information. So this isn't about fear mongering. This is just about presenting facts and possible solutions and things people might want to consider. You do you. It's not going to impact anybody else.
Yeah.
So
Can you bring up our other point too? 503. No, the one after that. It's right below that. Two down. Zone everybody else. Yeah, that one. I don't care if you buy from me or not. This is something like I'm telling you to protect your family. I don't give a shit if you buy from me or not. I'm here as like I'm taking risk just by speaking publicly about this stuff. I've got no deceptions or delusions about like this is eventually going to come back to bite me, because we're in an authoritarian world where the powers that be are going to crush anybody that stands against them, and I will. I don't care if you buy from me. I don't. If you do, great. If you don't, I don't care. What ultimately matters is that
at the end of the day, I send more people to goldsilverbull.com, your competition, than I do to you. So
whatever.
this is about helping people get what they need wherever it is. We don't care. Bryce doesn't care. All we're saying is that if anybody wants something trustworthy and wants a place to find it, that is why we do this.
Yeah. The majority of the time that I talk, I don't talk about buying gold and silver, right? The majority of the time I talk is about what's happening and what you need to think about to prepare yourself for what's coming. I have spent the vast majority of my life looking at why our civilization and why our society is garbage and corrupt and not working for the majority of the people. And all of the things that I tell you is for the express purpose of you preparing yourself and your family to survive, because that's what it's going to come down to. So if you don't like the things that I say, that's cool. I'm still going to say them, and you're more than welcome to disagree with them. But I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody. But what I don't do is make it all about me. I don't even plug my own social medias. I literally don't care. I literally just want the ideas out there so that we have a better world for the future generations. I sacrificed my own having my own kids because I knew this war was going to have to be fought by somebody that wasn't going to be restricted by somebody having their family be something used against them. So, okay.
I live on eggs and craft dinner because I don't do this for the money either.
Yeah, exactly. We're not here to be bajillionaires. If I wanted to be a bajillionaire, I would be a lot more evil than I am now, because I'm 0% evil. I work for what's good and true and what I think is the best for our species.
100%.
And if you think there's an ulterior motive to that, that's cool, but there isn't.
Another great point. Get consumables. Those are barter trade goods.
Yeah,
When
100%.
things get expensive and people don't have cash, and you've got something you need, that is how things, a lot of things are, a lot of business is going to get done. This is why they want everything moved to a cryptocurrency, so that we can't perform, business or outside of where they can get their pound of flesh. Everything is going to be digital. Everything is going to be tracked right down to the last grain of rice in a bin somewhere. It's going to be tracked to make sure the government gets 65%. So yeah, it's that's what this is all about, is preventing that until people figure out how to get an Iceland done and actually get control of their shiznit again. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, yeah, we can't please everybody or educate everybody. So we're going to do the best we can with what we got wherever we're at, and that is where we are at right here, right now, today. This is, things that impact that. That's why we're here every Friday to talk about it. And on that note, thanks again, Bryce, and we will see you again next Friday. All right, guys. That was an awful lot. A big drink from the garden hose, no doubt. Not what everybody wants to hear, but at the end of the day, we're not here for a popularity contest. If I wanted a popularity contest, I sure as hell wouldn't do this. And if I want to get rich, I sure as hell wouldn't do this either. But what I would probably do would be, I'm going to pull up something else here, and for just find it here. If all I wanted to do was to get rich, I would do this full time. I wouldn't do this in a capacity of helping others do it. I would do it for myself full time, because these guys have got an answer to BlackRock. They're taking $2 billion a year away from BlackRock, and they are using those resources to fund other communities, to fund the resistance, not drain the resistance. And that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Mountain Time. How can we take more money away from the cabal? Because every dollar we take away from them is one that they are not using to destroy and kill us. So RSVP only on that one, guys. But and also tomorrow night, some of the things we talked about here today, you guys are going to get a real world look at it. A little bit of context for this is something you might want to tune in. I had to change the timing on this, guys, so this isn't right. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow. But BBC did a series in 2019. It was only up for a couple of months, and they buried it and moved it down the memory hole because it was so predictive. When I just start doing this watch party over the next couple of weekends, you're going to understand why they buried this, because there is no way that any of you will believe that it was coincidence, just fiction, that they made all of this up in 2018, 2019 when they filmed it. And here we are in 2024 living it, and it is diabolical and dark, guys. So skip your Freddy Krueger tomorrow night and join us for a watch party of epic proportions that's going to make Nostradamus and The Simpsons look weak and feeble. So with that, guys, I love you all. Stay strong, stay Canadian, keep hope. God wins at the end of the day, and stay mighty, my fellow hostages. And we will see you all tomorrow.